Hi, I'm Libby Wagner, and this is one small thing that you can do to increase your wholeheartedness and presence in your life. And today I want to talk about something that is definitely one of my favorite things, and that is to do a short timed writing. And I'm a writer and a poet, as many of you know, and so I have a regular writing practice. And for years, I taught writing and as a college professor, and then I've continued to use writing and writing practices in particular in my work with all kinds of clients. So whether those clients are leaders or whether they're entrepreneurs. And even writers that I work, who I work with, whom I work with, and anyway, the timed writing is it's a really special kind of space, and one small thing that you can do to be present and wholehearted in your life. And I actually decided that I would tell you about this by doing a little writing about it. And so at the risk of breaking like all YouTube video rules and all that stuff, I'm going to actually just read to you what I wrote, and hopefully you might consider doing this one small thing for yourself. So, one thing that I love is the sound of a lot of pens scritching on the page. When we do a timed journal writing exercise, I've done this in the most likely and unlikely places: English classrooms, parking lots, prisons, at the base of basalt rock formations, national science labs, beverage companies, boardrooms, small group settings, large lecture halls, big conference rooms, and with a single solitary person and me. Often I do this because we want to warm up the brain and body, and we want to drop down into some sort of self connection with your own thoughts and ideas or with your own feelings. But I have a confession to make. I was heavily influenced over 30 years ago by Natalie Goldberg's work, and over the years acknowledged my adapted version of her nonstop writing practice. But that's not the confession. The confession is that I stole the first copy of Writing Down the Bones. It's not what you expect. I didn't slide it into my bag at a local bookstore. Someone left a copy on the reading edge of a Stairmaster in a health club on Madison Street in Seattle in 1989. And if it's yours, come find me and I will return it and make amends. It caught my eye with writing in the title. I wrote poems all the time, kept a journal, and was teaching high school English in Kent, Washington. I opened the book randomly, and I confess I thought she was talking to me. It was some kind of a trick. How could she be speaking directly to the wild writer mind in me? I completely pushed aside the kind of woman who returns a lost wallet or buys coffee for the person visible in my rearview mirror at Starbucks drive-thru, and instead became the 21-year-old at a dance club in Fort Lauderdale who sees, when the lights come on, a $20 bill near her foot and immediately, instinctively steps on it, then looks around, takes it home in her pocket. That girl. I'm sure I stayed on that horrible Stairmaster longer than ordinary time, reading Natalie's prompts and permission for living this writer's life I so desperately wanted. And even though I wouldn't have said it then, it was a sign from God. Someone left the book for me. It was mine. I picked it up with my gym towel and carried it out like I'd walked in with it. And seriously, there's never been a really good reason to get on a Stairmaster ever again. But Natalie's freestyle, timed writing, before Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, unlocked a practice for me that I began to pass on. Start. Go. Write. Be in a conversation with yourself for this small period of time. Whenever I've said, we will write for 5 minutes or write for 10, several people will groan, imagining they cannot or don't want to do it, and yet they begin. I tell them I'll never read it, never make them share or read aloud, that they have my permission to write their grocery list or "she's so weird" over and over, as long as they keep their hands moving. And so they begin. And for whatever I've said, 5 or 10 minutes, it's heaven. Their heads bent, their unself-conscious facial expressions, their regular heart syncopated rhythms. It's pure pleasure for me. I always write with them with the same assignment or prompt, or as my friend and writing sister Lydia says, a portal. But then, to be honest, since I'm in the confessional mode here, I get distracted and giddy at their scratching, and sometimes I just breathe and listen, or I write. That sound makes me so happy. Afterwards, when the chime sounds and the spell is broken, I ask a few questions. What surprised you? What did you notice? Would anyone like to share or read aloud? There's a hush in the room initially, a shyness, because they've just come from this very private space in their bodies, in their heads, with their hands moving across the page. And whatever happens next will be beautiful. Because we will, for that small bit of time, know that what is shared comes from not only that place within each of us, but from somewhere else entirely too. Just 5 minutes, just 10 minutes, such a small thing for a bit of magic. So I hope you might do a timed writing today. You can begin with anything or you can begin with nothing. And it doesn't have to go anywhere or be about anything, or it could. And one of my most favorite kind of beginning sentences to begin with is to say, what I really think about ... or what I really feel about ... and fill in the blank. So that's one small thing that you can do today.